Hi, everyone. Anne O'Connell with OC Publishing here, and welcome to the author journey and a very happy new year. This is our first author journey of 2023, and we have such an amazing lineup for you for the first few months of the year. I'm so excited, and today it just brings me great joy to have one of my old friends from, I shouldn't say old because she's not old, but a friend from Dubai that we worked together on a charity in Dubai. We hung out, and over the years since I've left, we've kind of stayed in and out of touch. And recently, she published a book, so it was a no-brainer to have this amazing woman as our first guest of the new year. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my friend, author, and angel investor, Lucy Chow. This is a bio that was written in CEO World magazine that I just thought was encapsulated her beautifully. She's a future-focused thought leader directed toward the innovation space, both in terms of supporting founders as an investor. She is the Secretary General of the World Business Angels Investment Forum, WBAF, Global Women Leaders Committee, and a general partner of WBAF Angel Investment Fund. She is also an investor with Next Wave Impact Fund and the Founder Institute, and is a limited partner with numerous funds globally. She has garnered a strong reputation as someone who has helped build the entrepreneurial ecosystem of the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, and is a staunch advocate for women in the gaming industry. She has contributed to several anthologies and most recently has edited Changing the Game, How eSports and Gaming Are Redefining Business Careers, Education, and the Future. She's also a host of her own podcast, Down to Business with Lucy Chow, and is a columnist with Arabian Gulf Business Insight. Wow, I mean, that just kind of catches your breath, doesn't it? The book that she has just recently launched, Changing the Game, is a collection of 34 essays that she curated from thought leaders in the gaming industry. So we've got a lot to unwrap today. So without further ado, I want to bring Lucy up to join me. Here, wait a minute. First one of the year, and we're just having a great time here. Hi, Lucy.
Hi there, Anne. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Welcome to the author journey and Happy New Year. And like
Happy
I
New
said,
Year.
I'm just so excited that you're going to help us kick off the series, author journey series this year. And I forgot to mention that I know I don't want you to blush, but Titanium Magazine named you the top 50 in global inspirational women to look out for in 2022.
That was
Like,
a real honor. Yeah.
wow. Like, I mean, how does that feel? Like, does it feel kind of surreal or like,
It is.
tell
It's
me?
definitely surreal. It's definitely surreal, and it's a wonderful accolade, obviously, but also I guess some a bit of a weight to bear. So, but thank goodness the book came out in 2022. So I
Mhm.
guess yeah, some of that came to fruition.
That's really exciting. And you've had such an amazing experience in Dubai. How long have you been living in Dubai?
Yeah, can you believe it's 16 years? I think we're starting our
Wow.
17th. Yes, it's amazing. And it's been
Wow.
a real fabulous journey.
It's
Yeah, you know how much we love it here. And the opportunities are vast here. And
oh,
so I think that's also what has allowed me to wear so many different hats.
hmm. And you
Yeah.
raised your son in Dubai.
Max is now 17, and so
Crazy.
you're right. He was a baby when we brought him here.
Isn't that
Um,
crazy?
yeah, yeah.
Oh my goodness. And I'm trying to remember how long it was, at least 10 years ago that you and I met.
I think
And
so therefore I think it was like about 13, 14 years ago.
really,
Yeah,
wow. Wow. And what a
yeah.
great time that was. And you and I worked on the Room to Read project, and I mean, look how amazing that's has spread as well. So
Yes.
it's
That
been a ride.
it has, and and someone was just talking about the Million Book Challenge. Do you remember? And how
Yes.
the Burj Khalifa lit up.
Yes.
As yes, so it has not been forgotten, like the work
Oh,
that we've put into that.
Oh, that warms my heart. That warms my heart. And so let's dive into this. Oh my goodness. Let's just I want to bring up the cover of your or the front page of your website so people can see how amazing this changing the game, discover how esports and gaming are redefining business careers, education in the future. So explain a little bit about how you came to edit this book or gather these
Sure.
stories.
Sure. So, I guess it first started, my son, like many of his generation, is very into gaming,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to understand his world more. But at the same time, I was coming across individuals, friends, that were building companies in the
Mm-hmm.
gaming. And actually, one of my friends, Paul Roy, is one of the chapter authors. And so I would meet with Paul every so often. He'll keep me updated about the growth of his company, what he was doing. And so I decided to delve more into the space. And by that, I meant that I just went out and started attending different conferences. So it was sitting at these conferences that, with my different hats on. So if you think about many of us, so I'm a parent, an investor, but I'm also curious about the future.
Mm-hmm.
I want to understand where the business world is moving towards in the future, especially as an investor in startups and so
Mm-hmm.
forth. So with all these hats, and I'm listening to all these amazing international speakers, and realizing, oh my gosh, there is so much that people don't realize about the gaming and esports sector that may have relevance to themselves, like their future and their kids' future or their businesses. How maybe their businesses should be pivoting to include gaming and esports, or somehow maybe their brand, or product or service should be also thinking how they can incorporate gaming and esports. So it was at this one of these conferences I was like, someone needs to write a book about this, because not everyone has the luxury of sitting at conferences. And so that's how it came together. And frankly, I'm obviously not the subject matter expert, but the genesis, and what made the book, what made me realize the book had to be, was made up of subject matter experts from
Mm-hmm.
around the world. So I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to make sure that the authors were diverse,
Mm-hmm.
not only geographically, they're represented. They represent 5 continents. So geographically, ethnically, um, I've got male and female authors, and also age-wise. So
Mm-hmm.
again, showcasing that there is relevance. This sector is relevant to anyone and everyone. So there's 2 goals in the book. Obviously, the content, each of the
Mm-hmm.
chapters, is insightful. But then when you read the bios of the contributing authors, I think that's also eye opening, in terms of, oh my gosh, how did this individual that has a PhD in geography, for
Right,
instance, end up being hired by Microsoft,
right.
to run a
And
whole gaming division?
that's I was saying to you, in the green room, that when I started reading the foreword, I was absolutely blown away. Initially, I was thinking you were writing the foreword, but then it's written by an astronaut who talks about his background in Terry Virts, I think Colonel
Terry
Terry Virts
Virts,
was his
that's
name,
right.
right?
Yes.
And he talks about what you learn today will be obsolete, in the future. So, gathering the skills to then apply to different careers. And I think that
Yes.
was really, really quite
It, it,
eye-opening.
it is eye opening. And Terry also talks about his own experience with gaming.
Right, right.
And we didn't call it gaming,
No.
right, back then, but he talks about playing on the Atari,
Mm-hmm,
as a child, and how, those are some of his fondest memories.
mm-hmm. The little
And
the little tennis match.
right,
You move the tennis
right.
up and
Oh,
down, right?
it's precisely. And
Yes.
don't realize, I guess there was a few reasons for, someone like having Terry write the foreword. The book
Mhm.
is very much future focused, right? So it's
Right.
focusing on where our careers going,
Mhm.
for both you and I, but
Mhm.
also the next generation.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
where should our businesses be going future
Mhm.
wise? So I felt, who else better than to like have an astronaut, right? Which
Mhm.
epitomizes, reaching, for the unreachable,
Right.
but also, just, if you're a futurist, I was also thinking of appealing to the different demographics that would pick up the
Mhm.
book.
Mhm.
And I wanted to make sure it wasn't just seen as a book for gamers or people that
Right.
understood the space. As a matter of fact, I wanted it to be picked up by people who knew nothing about this space. That's the whole reason.
Exactly.
That's the whole
Well,
reason for reading the book.
excellent, and you know what? That's one of my questions, like, who is the target reader
Yeah, and so
for this book?
it's people like you and me. It's people that wear all the different hats that I so the book is sectioned.
Mhm.
Um, there's esports and education. There's women in esports, investing in
Mhm.
gaming,
Mhm.
the future of games. So
Mhm.
it's deliberately appealing to everyone, and you can tell pretty well by the title, and that's a whole other journey too. And the
Mhm.
title, getting to the title that I really
Mhm.
wanted, took probably a year, if you can believe it.
Oh, I don't
Um,
doubt it at all.
because I was
Yeah.
haggling with my publisher, and I was like,
Mhm.
"The title is not like," they were giving obviously all these suggestions. I'm like, "No, no, no, it's
Mhm.
just not hitting
Mhm.
where it needs to be hitting." So you can see it has everything in the kitchen sink
Yeah.
in there, but I really feel it encapsulates, when I did the initial pitch, I think the title, was more or less like, the exact wording that is more or less how I pitched the book
Right.
initially.
Do you know what I like about this book, Lucy, is that it doesn't shy away from the dark side. Do you know what I mean? Like, it lifts
That's
the
right.
rugs, it really hits some of the concerns right
Sure.
on the head and addresses them. So do you wanna talk a little bit about the people that say, "Oh my god, those e-gamers, they're just hiding in
Yeah.
a dark corner and,
Yes.
eating junk food and being unhealthy," like, how to and I know that's addressed in the book, so just top line
Yes.
it a little bit
I
for me.
well, what I really felt was also important was to have, people
Mhm,
that know, gain subject
mhm.
matter experts. So,
Yes,
I've got 3, 4 psychologists that have written chapters in the book
excellent. Mhm,
talking about, yes, too much of anything is not good.
mhm,
And obviously, here's one view of gaming and gamers.
mhm,
However,
mhm,
let's also look at all the positives of gaming,
mhm,
of your child spending time gaming. So, we talk about eye-hand coordination. We talk
mhm,
about the ability to learn second languages because they're playing with people from all over the world.
mhm,
It is a fact that kids, young adults that watch esports
mhm.
tend to be, at a higher intellectual level, and they therefore are individuals that tend to gravitate towards the higher paying STEM careers, for
Right.
instance. So
Mhm,
as a parent, I and parents have told me, "Oh my
mhm,
gosh, wow, I really after reading your book, I totally understand now. I
mhm,
totally am looking at it with new eyes."
mhm. And
Um,
it creates a whole new exchange between parents and kids who, look to be just playing video games. And, let's talk a little bit about because even Max, your son, wrote a chapter.
yeah,
And I mean, I was following that whole process way back. And like we said, we've kept in touch sort of on social media and that kind of thing. And I watched as he created that event, the Minecraft event.
oh,
And
that's so awesome you remember
oh my
that.
gosh,
That's an
it was
amazing,
absolutely incredible. So talk a little
yeah,
bit about that because it's not just, people who are involved in the esports side of gaming, there's strategy, there's event planning,
absolutely,
there's management, and I bel if my memory serves me correctly, Max coordinated that whole event.
yeah. Teamwork, development of
Mhm.
leadership skills. Yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, he started at the age of 7 or 8 playing Minecraft, like a lot of
Mhm.
kids do.
Mhm.
And it coincided with the 150th anniversary of Canada. And
Right. Yes, that's right.
was, I not had to, but I had the honor of having like meeting with the Council General of Canada at the time here
Mhm.
in the,
Mhm.
and I knew he was going to ask me, so what ideas do you have for ways that we can celebrate
Mhm.
Canada's 150th birthday? So I'm driving Max to school, and I'm like, Max, do you have any
Help me out
ideas?
here.
Because yeah, yes, yes. And he's like, oh yeah, well then, it's definitely a product of Dubai because of all their
Mhm.
beautiful architecture.
Mhm.
He's like, I would just create a world in Minecraft that married, Canadian architecture, iconic buildings with iconic buildings from the UAE. So that's
Wow.
how this idea came about. And he did these activations where kids from all nationalities, because we have them here in the
Mhm.
UAE, he did
Mhm.
them in different schools, including
Mhm.
his school, American School Dubai,
Mhm.
where we would have like, a few hours and they would all literally come into one room
Mhm.
and create a world with different buildings from Canada and from the UAE.
Wow. That's
So anyways,
incredible.
this isn't it's an example of the different things that can be done.
Mhm.
But there's so many other examples
Mhm.
of amazing development of kids if they have an interest in this space. So, like
Right.
any athlete, there's only 1% that will become high paying gamers. So
Right.
the majority will not, but that's all
Mhm.
right. If they have knowledge, you can become, there's many jobs in this field, right?
Right.
It's not
Right.
just a gamer. You
Right.
could be the caster. You could put the eSports events together. You can be
Mhm.
a consultant,
Mhm.
marketing,
Mhm.
sponsorship. I
Well,
mean,
and
it's
it's the
endless.
same. If you think of like the physical sports world and all of the
Yeah,
players that have to come together to make, a team function and, an event, a Super Bowl happen. So there's all kinds of support roles. And, it brings me this I love the story of the first woman to take part in the World Cyber Games,
yes,
and how her sort of journey evolved into, working in PR
yeah,
and writing and working for, one of the biggest ad agencies in the world. And then going on to do her PhD. So, I think it's really important. And I think that there's a whole show just about that. But I want to take a little step back and go back into sort of the process of
sure,
putting the book together.
okay,
And, because I know there's a big interest in anthologies these days. I know in our region, and I'm in Eastern Canada. You were born in Western Canada, but, I've traveled all over the world. And hopefully you'll come east sometime in the
I
near
want you to come
future.
anytime.
Yeah,
Yes,
but it's become a very popular genre, these anthologies and collections. And there have been a few recently published here. And so I think it's a real interest to the people who are watching and authors out there who maybe write short stories or do have an area of expertise that they think needs more exposure. So talk a little
yeah,
bit about how you've got some very, very high level experts in this book. Like, did you
yeah,
start with your outline and then hunt down the experts, or
sure.
like tell me a little bit about that process?
I mean, and I love this way of creating a book. This
Mhm.
way, meaning tapping into subject matter experts, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And so I knew in my head kind of the sections, right? And the
Mhm.
topics I felt were important to address in the
Mhm.
book. Then I went out to seek the individuals. Now, how I did that was out of the 38 contributing authors, I probably know 7 of them, and some of them I've only maybe met once or twice because I
Mhm.
heard them speak at a conference, for instance. Now
Wow.
the
That's
rest,
brave.
no, it's great, but if you don't ask, you don't get,
That's
right?
right.
And
And you do
so,
you do have an entrepreneurial background. So that's
yes,
sort of drives
yes,
you
but
right from
but
the
Anne,
get-go, right?
I am going to tell you. that I am a huge fan, as you probably know, of the LinkedIn platform. The
Yes.
majority of people, I just pretty well cold wrote and said, "Listen, this is what I'm doing. You don't know me from from anyone, but and it's a testament to how inclusive this industry is.
Yeah.
So many of them were like, okay, oh, I get it. Yes, absolutely, I'd be happy to contribute.
Wonderful. Yeah.
And they were more than happy to share their knowledge.
Mhm.
And then, of course, when I started getting all these, the agreements, I was like, oh my gosh. And you're right. I went and I shot for the moon. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, this is the person I want. This is the person, you know, they, yeah, they, they're so busy, or,
Yeah.
there's such big experts. Um, and so, of course, I had to make sure the book was going to be a good one, because it
Right.
was a reflection on all of them.
Right.
So
Right.
that's a big stressor, for an
Mm.
editor,
Yeah.
obviously. So that's something to keep in mind. But again, I my advice for anyone that's looking at doing the anthology, you might
Mhm.
already have those deep connections.
Mhm.
But if you don't, don't
Don't
be
worry.
shy about reaching out. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
And you
just
know what?
ask them.
That's really good advice for anybody who's writing any genre of book, because we
Agree.
all know as authors, there's a lot of research that goes into both nonfiction and fiction, regardless of the
Yes,
genre. So if you need like a subject expert, in cryogenics, for example, and that's the top of my head because that's my next book, that
I
not
love
to
it.
be afraid, and it's also set in Dubai, but we can talk about that another time. Um, Not to be afraid to reach out to those subject matter experts. Um,
Absolutely.
so let me ask you this question. Had you already um, secured your publisher? Did you have a publishing contract before you reached out to these people?
So my book is a hybrid published book, right?
Okay.
So I
Yay.
so I had yeah, so I mean obviously it'd be great to have secured a contract, but I really again felt that it was important to see the light of day,
Yeah.
and sooner rather than later, because I could see how quickly this industry was progressing.
Yeah.
So I did have to pitch to a
Mhm.
few publishers,
Mhm.
and Greenleaf Publishing's based in Austin.
Excellent.
And so they're, I guess they take, I don't know, maybe 100 manuscripts a year. So they
Wow.
really like the idea. It was unique. No one else had come up, it didn't conflict with any of their other titles.
Mhm.
Um, and so I was at the same time, discovering who do I want to be working with on the publishing side. At the
Mhm.
same time, I was putting together, my thoughts on the book already, and
Okay.
who did I want to start tapping.
Okay. And what percentage of the people that you reached out to, what percentage said
I
yes?
w I was getting really like, I was batting, like, 100 for a really long time, and I was like, "This
Awesome.
cannot be going on forever." I initially, I wasn't when I reached out, I didn't have the number in my head, "Okay, I'm gonna hit 34."
Mhm.
Um, I just was asking and asking, and no one said no, and then people
Wow.
started saying no.
Okay.
But having said that, already, then I felt, okay, I'm missing this person, or I'm missing this
Mhm.
topic. So then it
Mhm.
took me a bit longer to get those individuals. But I want to say that overall, like, it probably took 3, 4 months to
Okay.
to get the lineup,
Okay.
figured out, and
Okay, so
and
my next
solidified.
question, what was the time frame from idea to publication?
Yeah, so honestly, the book was ready, probably over a year ago. So it
Okay.
was really my personal time, because Anne, as you know, after you've finished doing the book, publishing it, then you need to go and start the interviews, and then the
Mhm.
PR and the marketing. And I didn't
Mhm.
have the bandwidth. Um, I didn't have the bandwidth, in the beginning of this of 2022.
Right. Right.
So we
Oh my
we held
gosh.
off, yeah, we held off launching for
Mhm.
almost a year. So
Okay.
anyways, sorry, going back to your original question,
Mhm.
um, yeah, probably started the whole idea around COVID, really.
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
in maybe like April 2020.
Okay.
Um, and it was, COVID obviously worked to my advantage because people could
Mhm.
write their chapters during
Right.
that period.
Right. So with the time we have left, let's kind of you touched a little bit just now on the whole promotion and marketing piece. And I know
Yeah.
a lot of people who do watch the author journey regularly are authors and people in the industry. So I'm going to show that beautiful website again. And maybe but you do have a background in PR, and that was one of the things
Yes.
that we had in common when we first met, and we got excited about being involved in this charity together. And we bounced ideas around. And at the time, I believe that you had started the Elements group. Um,
Yes.
so talk
Doing
a little bit
events.
about,
Yes.
yeah, talk a little bit
Yeah.
about that piece of the puzzle.
I'm
So
gonna, yeah,
here's this
I'm gonna
gorgeous
be very,
website.
I'm gonna be very frank, Anne, about,
Mhm,
so I think it does help having a marketing PR background,
mhm.
but nothing really prepares you, as you probably know, and your authors know about the publishing industry.
Yeah,
I think there are some warts around that, meaning it's still a very opaque industry. You I can spend, like, and I have not, I should be spending so much more time educating
yeah.
myself
Mhm,
about this and about how the whole, publishing,
mhm,
PR, um, the metrics,
mhm.
all of that works.
It's a very
And
steep learning curve, I'm telling you right now.
I I think it is. I
I'm
know
still
it is. I
climbing
know.
after 7
No.
years.
Right, and I know it is, and really, it's really important to try to learn as much as possible, and I guess not beat yourself up because there's only so many hours in the day,
Yeah.
to market and promote. But obviously,
Mhm,
I knew I needed to have a splash page.
mhm.
Um,
Which is
I
this?
this is which is this.
Mhm,
I knew I had to, have content around the book,
mhm.
and just only recently, because 'cause I've been doing it all myself, and it's not like
Right.
I'm if you ever see my Instagram, it's not like I'm, like, a fabulous videographer, far from it. So only recently have I brought on, a wonderful, team called Sandbox Creative from here that's helping me
Awesome.
with my social media,
Mhm. Good.
around the book specifically,
Right.
and
Good.
then also they've convinced me to do a newsletter, like a monthly newsletter, which I was
Mhm.
kind of like holding back on, but we're testing it out.
Okay.
And again, I guess it's just again to just keep the book front and center.
Mhm.
And also, I've been doing a lot of writing, so not so appearing on podcasts, but also writing thought leadership pieces around the gaming and esports sector.
Excellent.
So kind of promoting the book, but kind of tangentially,
Right.
more my knowledge.
Right. And as your Arabian Gulf Business Insight column sort of
Right.
evolves, there'll be opportunities there because it is an industry that has been embraced pretty much
Yeah. Yes.
in that region.
Yes,
Is that the case?
absolutely. Oh
Mhm.
my gosh. And one of the fabulous contributors is a consultant that consults for governments in the region
Mhm.
on
Mhm.
how to put gaming and esports on their national agenda. So he
Wow.
writes about his work in that space, and it's fabulous because yes, we are definitely in a country, UAE and
Mhm.
Saudi, that
Mhm.
are very committed in terms of their government, but also
Mhm.
in terms of funds,
Mhm.
and growing this ecosystem. And
That's
that means
amazing.
bringing in the talent and the
Mhm.
knowledge, um, and having everything from developers to, I don't know, manufacturers of peripherals,
Mhm.
um, set up in the region.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and and also there's a lot of gamers in this region.
Mhm.
And so we want to be able to support them.
That's amazing. And you said earlier that the contributors in the book are from 5 different continents.
5 different continents.
That's
I'm so
incredible.
proud of that. I'm so proud of it because I thought it was really important, obviously the way we game in first world countries are very different from
Mhm.
countries with lower incomes. And so mobile gaming is actually the biggest category. And so I wanted to hear
Wow.
from Africa. I wanted to
Mhm.
hear, from Pakistan,
Mhm.
what's going on in your ecosystems. And
Right.
they talk about it, and they talk
Mhm.
about how some of the creators are also bringing in cultural relevance to the games.
Oh my gosh, that
So
is that is so
it's
important.
fabulous. Oh, it's so
So
fabulous.
important.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
And of course,
there's
all the I was gonna say all those countries also have different levels of technology and access
yes,
to. So you wanna it's there's just so much that to unpack, but I'm just this is I think the book is fabulous.
thank you, Anne.
And just before we wrap up, I just wanna say, can you explain just really briefly what an angel investor is? Because I think that people watching
Sure.
might be questioning that or
Sure.
curious.
Yeah, and the angel investing hat ties in with investing in this space, in the esports space.
Exactly.
So an
Mhm,
angel investor invests in companies at very early stage. So
mhm,
it's usually called the chasm of death, because if a company does not get funding
mhm,
at the seed stage, then they usually
mhm,
don't see the light of day going forward.
mhm,
So it's usually smaller amounts of money, but so crucial to
mhm.
making sure a company scales, and continues on. So that's my area of passion.
That's awesome.
Trying to make sure that more founders, can at least get to a stage where they can raise more funds,
Mhm.
or at least get their concepts off the ground.
Oh, excellent. So if people want to follow you, learn more about what
Sure.
you do, I know that we've been putting up your Lucy Chow author
Sure.
website address,
That's the website address.
lucychowauthor.com. And is
Sure.
there, you're on social media? How can they find you on
Yes.
social
So
media?
you can, so in LinkedIn, I think I'm the first Lucy Chow. If you Google me or whatever,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
search for me in LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Instagram, I'm Lucy Chow DXB.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have a Facebook page now focused on more on the book. And it's also Lucy Chow.
Okay, and let's just also bring up that book cover again. So if anybody is interested in getting a copy of Changing the Game, discover how esports and gaming are redefining business, careers, education, and the future by the wonderful Lucy Chow, how can they get a copy?
And so, yeah, you just go into that website, but it's
Mhm.
also being distributed on any platform that you normally get your books from,
Oh,
including ebooks.
okay, your favorite retail ebook
Yeah.
seller or hard copy, right?
Yes.
Both
Yes.
available in print and hard copy. Well, it's hard to believe that we're already out of time. And I want to thank you so much for being my first New Year author to join us on the author journey to launch 2023. And so congratulations on your book. And I hope it flies off the shelves and I hope there's a part 2.
Yeah. Thanks so much, and it's been my pleasure and privilege to be your first guest. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, and I'm gonna hide this, and we'll see you hopefully soon, and I wanna thank you all for joining us. This particular author journey was pre-taped, because Dubai is 6 hours, 8 hours ahead of us, so we wanted to make sure that, we got Lucy on before it was too late. So, thank you again for joining us. We'll see you next week on the author journey. We've got some great guests lined up, so happy New Year, and we will see you